Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Top Drive Show. This time we will be talking about the Silver Screen Challenge which ended last week, and we'll answer some of the best questions you guys have submitted to us on the forums and social media. Let's go. Hey guys, I'm Dimitri, I'm the community manager here at Top Drives.
Hi, I'm Jonathan and I'm design director here at Hutch.
I'm Tim and I run marketing and analytics at Hutch.
So how are you guys doing today?
Well, good. I mean, my neighbours decided to put up some scaffolding. You might be able to hear some of that. That's interesting. Otherwise, it's a lovely day.
What about you, John?
Yeah, not too bad. Just the weeks are I think the sameness is probably the biggest challenge, and sort of not really having anything in the calendar. But definitely can't complain. We sort of operate very much in a digital world, and I think we've mentioned before about the it's very much sort of business as usual for us. Getting very used to Zoom calls and Google Hangouts every day. Good.
I agree that in many ways we're quite lucky to be able to work, full time and keep our jobs. Many people don't have such luxury.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are gathering to discuss the Silver Screen Challenge, which ended last week in Top Drives, and it was a week-long event which featured a challenge ladder, but also various events that ran throughout the week that supported this challenge and allowed players to participate in that. And the reason why we wanted to talk about it today is because we've had quite a lot of questions from the community about the challenge, about various things. So we've gathered our favorite questions, and today we're going to answer them.
Mm-hmm.
You guys ready, yeah?
Yeah.
Great, fantastic. So the first question we found was, what was the need to have a 2-day downtime for events at the beginning of the challenge? Many players were wasting tickets while being unable to earn any Jaguars necessary to progress in the challenge.
Yeah, it was a bit odd, wasn't it? So, so you might have noticed since 2020 began, each month pretty much we've put on one additional event of some kind beyond the usual rotation of Tri-Series and all that. Really just trying different things out. And with the tools that are built in Top Drives, we've got the challenges, we've got prize cards, restrictions, and so on. It's like, what sort of thing can we construct? And I think this is the first time doing it, actually awarding cars from events that unlock progress in a challenge. And there's a whole scaling question about how many should you need? Well, the most we can ask for is 5. Okay. And then how many chances should we give players to win them? Because if there's more chances, more people could do it. And then how often can we run events? And then what's a sensible time to do that? And then against that is what's the maximum number of zones we can put in a challenge? And the way this one all worked out, it's it's a full 7-day challenge. We need individual control of each zone. So it's one set of challenges for one zone instead of usually you have a few repeated ones. And it just meant necessarily, it's the only way to pad this out around the length of time that makes sense is going to lead to this thing where people get stuck for a little bit. And that kept happening through the week, as people progressed. You could sort of have had the first Jaguar come in sooner, but then you'd have had the problem later down the line. Also, we didn't want the Jaguar event to come in before people had got to the bit of the challenge where you need it, because some people, who don't read our notes and so on would just go, oh, what's the Jaguar? It seems useless, get rid of it. And then they get to that bit of the challenge and oh, wait, what? I needed it. So we sort of wanted that for the people who don't pay attention to just go, oh, I need this car. Oh, that's how I get it. Just for that all to make sense. It is quite odd. It's always a bit odd in the challenge that you can't kind of just farm it easily. You have to sort of carefully stop. But it's sort of a result of the tools that we have and the way it worked. I think the weirdest thing about it was players had never seen it before. Now we have seen it. We're like, oh, okay, it can go this way sometimes. In general, there are way more events. It's way more generous. So the tickets you're missing out on farming, you sort of make up for by the fact that there's so many more events running. So overall, it's better. It's just a bit weird. And,
I think like you say, we've had, over the sort of weeks and months, we've had quite a few questions of people asking about challenges and what we're doing with them, and whether whether new types are coming along.
Yeah.
And I think this is, in a way, this is I think our response has been that we have wanted to expand challenges and try new things, and in some ways that this is that in action, is that we are, the team is experimenting, and like you say, so this was something that hadn't been seen before, and so probably felt a bit usual, but there was unusual, but there was a sort of logic behind it.
Yeah. So there you go.
It all comes down to experimenting with what we have. The next question is, those who couldn't invest a lot of resources in the challenge were not able to win anything substantial. So why did we make the challenge so unfair?
Yeah. So a lot of this is, I was really, really interested to get into the data and find out what was actually going on here with progression. How far did people get? So the baseline, we have our regular challenges each week, and people sort of got used to how difficult they are, and they give out a ceramic. I think it's a given that if it's going to give out a better prize, it'll probably be a bit harder. And if it gives out a much better prize, it'll be a lot harder. And this was interesting because not only was the top prize a legendary prize car, but there was an epic prize car, the Ford GT40, which is pretty cool. And then before that, the Aston Martin Bulldog. And then before that, even there's the like D rare Pontiac, like incredible specialist drag car, which was given out I think a year ago in another event series. But that's a really, really great car to have. So I'm hoping even people could only get that far, got something useful if they weren't around last year. But the big question is, how difficult was it really? How hard was it? Too difficult or whatever? So there's a few reference points. One is how many people made it, how far relative to a normal challenge. So the Bulldog is the first prize that is, I guess, most similar to the end of a usual challenge. You get a ceramic. It might be an ultra rare, it might even be an epic or a legendary, but it's probably a super rare. Bulldog prize car is a bit better than that. So it was a bit harder to get to than that. And about 2/3 of the number of players who usually get to the end of a challenge managed to get to the Bulldog, which is, fairly reasonable. Maybe it could have been a bit more, but that seems in the ballpark for a better thing. For a prize car that you can't usually get, that seems all right. And then for the next two, these are the kind of cars we've run major events for in the past, legendary prize cars in particular. We run a tri-series for it, and about 2% of players get it at the end. So the interesting thing about this is that in an event, if everybody goes nuts and go, oh my goodness, I really, really want this car, I'm going to buy all the packs, put everything I've got into it, they're all in competition with each other, and still only 2% of people are going to get it. But in a challenge, if everybody really wants to invest in it, everybody who meets the bar can get it. And so that makes it different and interesting. And the result for the top prize is that about 4 times as many people got it as would usually get a prize car in a prize series. So that's like as if we gave it out, instead of going to the top 10, it's like the top prize in tri series went to the top 40. So it was difficult, but way more people than usual were able to get a prize car. And then if you imagine in a regular tri-series, tier 2 sometimes as an epic prize, so you might compare that to how many people got the GT40. Again, it was about 4 times as many. So it was like, instead of an epic prize going to the top 40, it was like an epic prize car went to the top 160 in sort of proportional terms. So this I found really interesting. It was a difficult challenge, but way more people than usual were able to get a prize car than out of a tri-series. So I got the GT40 myself, opened a few packs, but I couldn't get what I needed to get the 177. So that's how it goes. I was happy to get the GT40 though. I missed it the first time around. I don't know, it feels even 2 years ago now that first went out. Yeah, that's roughly how it panned out.
Yeah, I think the prize car itself, the Aston Martin 177, is actually pretty good legendary as well. So it's very strong. So hearing that so many people have won it is actually quite nice. So speaking about the packs, actually, the next question is about the silver screen packs. And well, not just the packs, but the tag itself. So the question was, why was the range of silver screen cars so narrow? I've had lots of duplicates in the packs I've bought. So what do you guys say?
Yeah. I mean, so a while back, right, the players might have noticed we put out a thread going, hey, what are some cars that are in top drives that were in films and TV? We got a lot of player suggestions back, and we used that to build it out. I mean, if you go really far, like almost every car in top drives was probably in a film somewhere, right? But you try to keep it up to ones that, that are recognizably like, yeah, that was the hero car in that film. Or if you get told what it is, you're like, oh yeah, it was that one, rather than like, oh no, it was in the background in this shot of the second Jason Bourne film or something. Of course, when we started running this event, loads of players coming and going, what about this one and this one and this one? It's like, yeah, I mean, there was the thread back then. That was the one. Maybe next time we do something like this, we should promote that more and go, hey guys, there's a thing going up. You might want to think about what should go in.
There's definitely a sense that we've got another silver screen list if we ever need it.
Exactly. It could be expanded. I mean, the primary thing was we got the list and we thought, okay, it's big enough that there's a range of ultra rares and epics, and there's some legendaries that you can get, that it makes it look like, a carbon fiber would be a reasonable bet. It would be fairly interesting. You might get something you really like. And so it seemed fine. It is relatively few cars, but the flip side of that is, how difficult should the challenge be? That relates to how few cars there are. So if there were 4 times as many, 10 times as many cars in the pack, the difficulty of the challenge would have been harder to match. It would have been about how upgraded your cars are, I guess, instead. So such that a similar number of people end up making it. I was thinking about a flip side of this actually, is that if the hardest thing about the challenge is how narrow it is, you have a situation where sort of players who luckily happen to have the right cars already get it. Whereas if it's more about how upgraded they are, it's actually more about, okay, how much have you invested, how long have you been playing top drives to amass loads of food. It's a different kind of selection. So in the future, I think I could see us doing something similar to this again, and I could see us doing something where it's broader but they're more upgraded, and you end up with a similar number of people winning it, but it's sort of different people that would get it. So it's just one of the ranges of things that we'll try.
I think we've talked. I've probably bored everybody talking in the past about how, sort of, in a way, one of the ideas behind the whole of top drives was just that the eclectic world of cars, or just how diverse it is, and how many ways you can theme it and break it up. And I'm a big fan of the Top Gear TV show and the Grand Tour, and some of the best bits of those are the sort of themed road trips and things like that. So yeah, I think, like you say, Tim, kind of as we go forward, the themes are something that we are clearly, we're starting to experiment with. There has been a lot of positivity and some great discussion around this, and I think it will be something we look at more. And I think those themes will just naturally fluctuate a bit, as we go forward. So it won't. They won't always be sort of one set size. I think it will be looking at the themes that work, looking at what that gives us in terms of a spread of cars, and sometimes that's going to be a bit more, sometimes it will be a bit less. But that's just the nature of the game and the cars that we have available.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, guys. So the next question is about the final round of the challenge, which there was a little bit of a controversy with it. So the question is, why do we change the requirements for round 22 at the last minute? Some of us have used cars to beat it.
Yeah, that was a really, really difficult one. So I don't know how much everybody saw about this, but we saw a bug coming in where people said, hey, the last round has no requirements on it. You can go in with any cars you want. And other people are like, what are you talking about? 5 times silver screen with an RQ limit. This is really, difficult. And then what some people even said, I saw there was no requirements, so I thought, great, I can farm it. And then these requirements showed up, and I was like, oh, what? Now I've wasted some tickets. So we tried to really quickly look into the data and go, okay, what's going on? And it's like, okay, it looks like there's some kind of bug that in rare occasions, not that often, but not so rare that it's like almost nobody, the requirements sort of fall off. And that's really hard, right? We're like, okay, so we could identify everybody who got through where the requirements fell off, take the prize off them and go, no, do it again properly. That would make it fair, but it will be really annoying for those guys. Or we chose to go the other way. We're like, okay, well, look, round 21 is already very hard. 22 is only a little bit harder. I'll just open that up to everybody and you can get through. And, the side effect is a few people, not a huge number, because we were looking at the data at that time of the event, how many made it there. Not that many people had got there and gone, I need to upgrade some more. So like, okay, so they'll do some upgrading that maybe they didn't have to, but maybe they couldn't have even made it past 22. Like they'd need to do more upgrading. I don't know. It's like this way, okay, it's easier for everybody by taking it down. This seems like the least worst way to deal with it. Obviously now we're very interested in what that bug is and trying to make sure that is eliminated before we do something so high stakes again. But that was the call we had to make.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. So the next two questions are more about the general sort of server stability. So the question number 5 is, number 6 now. How was the server situation during the event? Did you notice any unusual connectivity issues? Was everything fine, or wasn't as good as you expected?
Yeah, I mean, the server situation moves so fast, right? Every time we record one of these videos, it's like something totally different has happened by the time it went out. I think that happened last time, right? We talked about it a little bit. Sorting out the server issues reminds me a little bit of, there's like a bump in the carpet and you're like, I'll get rid of that like this. And then this bump appears over there. That's kind of what happened in a few ways, right? We did something that's like, okay, the server issues won't be as bad at the end of an event, but a bunch of extra brackets get created with hardly anybody in them. Oh, that's no good. Like push that one down. Sorted that one out. And then it became like, there's random mad server issues like 20 minutes after an event has ended. And that turned out to be what code is called garbage collection, apparently. That was doing something as a result of what we'd done to fix the first one. So we're like, okay, that's got to happen less. So that happened for about half a week. And then I think we've finally got on top of that one. I mean, I'm one of the first ones in there going, I'm playing the game and it's like, what's happening? And then I check the data. Is it just me or is it everybody? Sometimes it's just me. My internet broke, but it's everybody. And then I get to the server guys and go, hey, what's going on? That happens. Or sometimes, players raise it and we hear about it through, you, Dimitri, or whoever's looking at the time. So, we notice and we care and get it sorted out. I think it's now a lot. I haven't seen a new big ruck in the carpet coming up as a result of the last fix. I think it's like we put a sofa on it or something. It's just like pretty much, it's pretty sensible now. It's pretty under control. So you still get random things from time to time. There's that thing that we had a lot of last year where there's a third party we use as part of the server architecture, and completely beyond our control, they can fall over. Occasionally, that will happen. There's not much we can do about it, but that. I think it's all looking a lot better now. See, I was saying that, and now this video is going to go out or something. Anytime it comes up, we'll look at it.
I think that's it. I mean, not not that this makes any difference. That's kind of just repeating what you said, but it's like, I mean, just for me, I'm not on the kind of technical side, but and obviously players just want the end result in terms of no problems. But yeah, the level of conversation on our internal messaging systems, the level of conversation around this and just an absolute desire to sort of get on top of it and kind of resolve it it's definitely the sort of one of the dominant topics that's flying around. So, but like you say, sort of, I think there's a sense that things are getting into a pretty good place. And I think with anything online, there are always going to be those sort of anomalous cases that can still pop up. But definitely a sense that can get.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I did make it out as if like the only way we know about it is when people see it. That's obviously not true. There's logs, and so sometimes we'll come in and go, everything fell over between 3:30 and 4:30 a.m. in the middle of the night. Let's figure out what that was. There are these methods as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would add to that we do, keep track of all the connectivity issues, and sometimes we even have false alarms when there are no issues, and we still, report them, just trying to make sure that we're on top of things.
Yeah.
Yes, so the final question related to the silver screen challenge is about the brackets. So some people have reported having not 100 but 120 people in their brackets during those events. So what is the situation with that? Are we tackling the situation with overfilled buckets? And could you comment on that, please?
Yeah. So what there was in the early part of the silver screen. How did this work? I can't remember exactly why. It was part of that sequence of server fixes that we made led to some brackets being overfilled a lot more than usual, like more than 20% even. In those events, we extended the range of people who could win the Jaguar prize card to kind of make up for it. And then we got back on control of it, and it became more like normal. There's still overfilling happening by design now, right? To stop late entry being such an easy gambit, we're like, okay, after this certain point in time, we won't create any more leaderboards. The existing ones will fill up, and then when they're full, we will overfill them. And so that late entry is not a good idea. You'll face all the competition instead of an empty leaderboard. And now that that's under control, the main thing governing it is how many people enter late, right? Like if nobody does it at all, then nothing will ever overfill. And if people do it a lot, it will overfill a lot. One of the problems is because of these issues we'd had, late joining was still kind of working occasionally for some people, more often than it should, which encouraged more people to late join, which meant even when we fixed everything, a lot of people are still trying it and coming in and overfilling those leaderboards. And I did check at the point of filming, where are we now? It's 9th of June. I looked at some recent events, and they had overfilled way less than it has been for a long time, because I think people are figuring out like, oh no, it doesn't work, you shouldn't try it, and therefore less overfilling happens. So there was a big issue, we fixed it, and then player behavior sort of evolves such that it happens less anyway. There you go.
Thank you very much. So yeah, this wraps up the section about the Silver Screen Challenge. We do have one more question about the so-called PL 11.22 update, which was released yesterday. Mm-hmm. And the question is literally only related to the numbering. What's going on with the numbering? Because previously we would have 11, then 11.2, and people were thinking about 11.3, but we have 11.22 now. So how more granular can it get in your opinion?
Yeah, close scholars of top drives will realize that this is a massive epoch-making deviation from the norm, and something is going on. I guess only the hardcore would really care, but in the past, we would go, what should go in the next release? Well, there should be this thing, this bug fix, we want to fix that thing, this back-end bit needs to get sorted out, and we'll add this feature. And then when all of that is ready, we'll put it out as a release. And one of the reasons you do that is that putting out a release involves some extra work. There's time sorting it all out, getting it ready for the stores, playing it through, making sure everything works together nicely. And so you don't want to do that too often. But on the other hand, it can mean there's quite a lot of time between releases. And so the bugs that there are, you have to wait quite a long time for them to get fixed. So there's this other paradigm that we're now trying out, which is like, we should put out a fix for this about then, and we'll work on these other things. And whatever's ready at that time is what will go in that release, and we'll put it out. Rather than like, well, we fixed all these bugs, we've done all these things, we just need another couple of weeks to make this other thing work. It's like, let's not wait for that. Let's put out a release that's got this. And so it's going to be more incremental. There still will be like major milestone releases, but the theory is we can keep on top of things more quickly. And if we get more efficient about doing those releases, hopefully you'll see a sort of faster pace of development. And maybe some of those new releases actually will introduce bugs, but then they'll get fixed quicker as well. So it's like, hopefully we should be on top of things more. We're trying it out. That's the story.
Yeah, and I was reading some comments on the forums asking about this 11.22, and I think people are just not really used to it, but the fact that we have this update doesn't really mean that we're canceling anything or moving anything from the future updates. Like 11.3 is still going to be around the same sort of time. So if there are time gaps, then we want to fill them. But thank you guys for this. I hope we answered most of your sort of hottest questions about Silver Screen Challenge. And well, I would say probably the last question I would ask both of you is, can we expect more of these in the future? Because obviously you already touched upon it, but can we expect more of these in the future?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, hang on a minute, wait, are we going to do it again? I think, so like I said, we've been doing these different things each month, right, in 2020. This one by far got the biggest reaction. Some people really hated it, some people thought it was weird, and some people really loved it. But I think it shows there's something really interesting in this idea. Like one thing was like more people fused cars to upgrade through this series than I think in any other event we've ever done. So people are clearly really engaged with it. And like I said, there's something different about it. Like if you meet this bar, you can get the prize. You don't have to beat other people. You just have to meet this bar. So we are seriously looking at like, okay, what's the way that this works best? How can we try it out again? So yeah, there will be, I'm pretty sure I can say this confidently, there will be something like this again. But obviously we're looking at the elements, like how does it work, how difficult should it be, and so on. So
stay tuned. In terms of refining our ideas, there's a certain amount of that can be done on the team, and as in before anybody else in the public sees it. But at the end of the day, and I think this is how it should be. A big part of our refining process is getting into players' hands and seeing what the comments are, what the feedback is there's nothing that can quite beat that in terms of what sort of steering our kind of direction forward with all sorts of content in the game. So,
yeah, exactly. This is the reason Tri-Series exists. We tried it out as a format, and it really worked. It's like, this is what makes sense to do in this game. Let's do that all the time. So yeah, this is the trick. Try things out, see how it goes, iterate and improve, hopefully.
So yeah, for those wondering, keep an eye on our channels, and we'll make sure to let you know about any sort of new upcoming events. So thank you very much, both of you, for joining me today, and really appreciate taking your time, and hopefully these answers will help and assist some of the players that were asking about them. So yeah, thank you guys.
Okay, thanks.
That's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching our latest episode of the Top Drive Show. We really hope that we've managed to answer some of your questions about the Silver Screen Challenge. We're very much looking forward to future events like this one. And for now, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our social links. And we will see you in the next episode of the Top Drive Show, which should be the July Q&A coming very, very soon. See you guys later.